for that humility and for wisdom to work for our children. And that's what I heard in the prayer again this morning. So we thank Elder Philip Painter for his support over the last 3 days. Our elders are not just these are not just token gestures. There are teachers, and they're that link to a very ancient language and worldview. So that's why we keep them we hold them in high regard. Mike Hutchison's gonna come up here, have a couple words here. Okay, actually, I'm gonna call up my coworker Brenda Daniels, the mall's coordinator, to introduce our guest speaker here. Yeah, I don't have my program.
It's okay, I have her.
Okay.
Minogishikad Buju Gakanawiya, Brenda Daniels, Indigenous. I'm very honored to be introducing the keynote speaker this morning, my good friend Rachel Beaulieu. So Rachel Beaulieu, she's Anishinaabe Kwe from Sandy Bay First Nation in southern Manitoba. She graduated in 2010 from Assiniboine Community College with the media production diploma, winning 2 awards for her recognized talent. Rachel has focused her creative energy on learning storytelling through post-production for film and television content. Rachel's professional experience ranges from commercial, brand, promotion, narrative, documentary, broadcast, and education. Her work is influenced by her unique perspective as a First Nations woman and aims to make space for creators in a diverse vision. Rachel has worked her way from an intern to becoming an online editor for the TV show Arbor Live and Catch the Dream Bios with Adam Beach. Being an eager young person in the industry, Rachel has received various professional mentorships and gained opportunities to hone her skills as an editor. Working on documentaries was one of her main interests, and as an editor to learn the storytelling process. She worked on short biographies and documentary films for the National Screen Institute, National Film Board of Canada, and produced documentaries for her own company. Can Dream Productions. She has had her work on CBC, APTN, Shaw TV, Bell MTS, CTV, as well as international film festivals such as American Indian Film Festival, Vancouver International Film Festival, LA Skins Fest, and the Gimli Film Festival. In recent years, Rachel has moved her focus to directing. Last summer, Rachel was asked to job shadow on the CTV comedy series Acting Good. The internship solidified her confidence in working towards directing her own film projects. Rachel recently won an award for $10,000 to produce her first film project, which will be released at the Gimli International Film Festival this summer. Rachel holds membership to DOC Manitoba, Winnipeg Film Group, Indigenous Filmmakers Association, is an alumnus of the National Screen Institute, and Women in the Director's Chair. Rachel is the audio-video producer at the Manitoba First Nation Education Resource Center, and although she has a full-time career as a video producer, Rachel is active in the local filmmaking community. She is working towards developing skills to write and direct her first web series. Okay, help me welcome Rachel Beaulieu.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm gonna take this out. Bonjour, Anine. I'm Rachel Beaulieu. Kakwigat Dongak Nadunji. Namama. Maxine Beaulieu, Dago Robert Beaulieu, Nababa. I'm thankful to be here today. I was asked by the executive director to present to you today with the recommendation from Lorna Prince, the Inclusive Education Director. So I was asked to talk about my life, about being a successful First Nations person that came from the Reds. So I was born and raised in Sandy Bay. And I wanted to say that all my successes that you heard in my biography has been supported by other people in my life. So I can't take all the credit for my successes and for the things that I've done to make these achievements. So the first people in my life that helped me be who I am today are my parents. My parents are Maxine and Robert Beaulieu, and they've always supported me in what I wanted to do. My mom was a creative person who always had decorations every season, holiday, to bring creativity to our lives and to share with her children to make us happy, basically. And then my dad was the strong, I guess, silent type. He wouldn't let people mess with him. And when I was growing up, I always thought he was rude. But throughout his life, he's experienced racism and challenges of being a brown First Nations man. And as I grew up, I realized that he experienced all these things and he didn't let people treat him lesser. So I'm proud to have both my parents that taught me the nurturing side and to be a strong person, a strong First Nations person. And I wanted to talk about who I am and the people that helped me throughout my life. And so growing up in the Reds, I went to Isaac Beaulieu Memorial School and I graduated there. And I want to talk about the teachers that were in my life. So I mostly remember support from my high school teachers. So I've always been thought to be, Rachel's has a good head on her shoulders. She's going to do all these good things. But my high school teachers know that I can be difficult. So they would always call me out if I was, trying to skip class or, don't want to do some work in school, and talk about my journey of where I wanted to go as an adult. So I had some teachers call me out for skipping and they would tell my mom, and then they would say, I would come to them and say, why'd you tell my mom? You made her feel bad. And they made me realize your actions are what you made your mom feel. So at a young age, I realized I want to make my parents proud. And family is super important to me. Any choices that I make in my life aren't just for me. There's always people behind me and beside me that are supporting what I do. So I had some teachers that guided me through wanting to pursue higher education. They saw that I was trying to do nursing, and because they grew up with me, or raised me, they knew that I wouldn't be interested in that long term. So they're like, you know what, you need to do something more with yourself. Sure, nursing is great, but I think that you should pursue something different that's for you. So I actually applied and was selected to go to school at Assiniboine Community College for the LPN program there. And while I was there for my orientation, I came across the radio station at the school at Assiniboine Community College. And my dreams changed from there. And that made me realize growing up that I've been doing all the things I've been doing already in my life. At a young age, I would be surrounded by children, my sisters, families, cousins, and I knew that we used to do photo shoots on disposable cameras. I knew we used to sit together on my mom's big bed and create plays, and then we'd present them on our front deck to people, invite some neighbors over and then play and do little films for people. So I was like, okay, I want to go to media production. I went home, and my mom was like, kind of not expecting much from the program, but she accepted that she knew it's something I want to do and that I would pursue it to the best of my ability. So I went to the program. I thought I was going to be this big audio producer, like recording and mixing the next Nickelback at the time was one of the biggest groups. And then I was like, okay, I don't really like audio actually. I don't like recording it too much. And I found out that I was good at editing. And at the time, I was in college around, 2006-07 is when the light that came to light about residential schools. I kind of knew my parents went to residential school, but I didn't really know what that meant. And me coming straight from the res to a strange place with a lot of non-Indigenous folks, I felt like people were coming to me asking me all these things about residential school, and I didn't know anything about it. And that what started for me to learn to be First Nations. I grew up in the res. I didn't really think of myself as a First Nations person yet. I only knew about First Nations being at the end of my community name. I didn't connect being First Nations with me. I just thought of it as a community. So from then is when I really started to understand that the things I learned, I need to connect with and understand that being First Nations is important and I should try to understand what that means. So, so I finished the program. I went to mentorship or internship for like my last bit of my program, and that's when I guess I made a good impact, because later on when I came to ask them for a job, that's where my first start in, I don't know, being successful in what the work that I do. Worked for Strongfront as an editor, did help with editing, and I was helped to grow there. I came across people who worked at Manitoba First Nation, Andy Thomas and Valerie Biggity. They came to Strongfront to do some editing for their programs that they were doing in the language and research and development area at the time. So they saw that I was somebody they wanted to work with, and at the time, the publishing and communications program for MFNERC was starting to develop, and they, kind of threw me a bone. It was like, hey, you should come and work for us and support what we do. I was like, okay. At the time, I was working for myself, working with First Nations organizations and developing their corporate videos and stuff like that. So I was working all by myself, planning, shooting, editing, and I was like kind of lonely. So I thought it was a good opportunity to apply for the program, for the job that they had as a multimedia assistant. And I got the job. So I was like really happy to join MFNERC, because that's where I met so many more people that were proud in their identity already. Like the people that were presenting to you today, or through the past couple of days, have like strong beliefs. They know what they want to do. They want to help our community by sharing their self with you. And I thought that I want to do that. I want to be able to support these people to create the good work that you've been able to see over the past couple of days. But so throughout the people that I met here, I was able to develop myself as a First Nations person. So I mentioned that I wasn't really connected to who I was, because I guess a residential school, both my parents went to residential school. They thought it would be better for me to not learn my language. and it would be easier to learn English so you can pursue higher education. So meeting the people here helped me realize, oh, okay. It's like, this is what it is to be First Nation. There's people like Joy Keeper that helped me be a strong First Nations woman, like to respect myself, to make sure people respected me in our interactions. And I'm very grateful for her support. And I wanted to share that teachers and all the people that you surround yourself with are, I guess, people that support you are the people that make you who you are. And for teachers, you guys do really hard work. You're working with high school students. they may not know what they want to do, and you guys have to do the hard work to tell them you see something in them. So you put yourself into them, and they may not see the good in what you're doing for them now, but now as an adult, I really appreciate the hard talks I've had with my teachers, because I would like to talk back. So from working here and like learning more about myself, I became confident in wanting to tell my own stories. So like I've always had ideas and stuff that I want to make films. I was thinking, okay, I'll work on this film. So like I take pieces of my life and I include it in all of my films. So this one film that I'm going to be releasing this summer as well is inspired by murdered missing Indigenous women. But I met somebody along the river. We were walking, and then we found these papers that looked like people were communicating to each other in writing. So I was like, oh, maybe they couldn't speak. So the only way they could communicate was by writing. So this short film talks about, or shows, two young teenagers that meet and interact and try to get to know each other and talk to each other with writing. And then at the end of the film, because one of the characters, a young girl, doesn't speak, at the end of the day, they leave, and he forgot to ask her name. And when he goes to ask her, she's gone. All that's left is a red ribbon. And as he's walking home, he's crossing the bridge and notices all the red ribbons across the bridge. And he realized that she was the spirit of one of the missing murdered Indigenous women. So I was hoping to share that film with you today, but it wasn't finished. So I'll be sharing something online and festivals and stuff in the future. But I just want to say that our identity is important in what we do in everyday life. And like now more than ever, our students are able to learn more with the support of you all, with the support of our organization. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. And I want to share a little montage of all the people that helped me in my life. So my family, my sisters. My older sister has sacrificed just as much as I did to be who I am. So she sacrificed part of her life to be able to support me so I can go on to do my programs and training, to take the load of the family stuff that needs to be taken care of. And all the people I've learned, my films took me to Hollywood, my friends I've worked with. And I just want to share that these people are important in my life. People, my nieces and nephews, my auntie, my mom there, all so successful. These are some pictures of my films that I've worked on, people that have supported me, mentored me, and want me to succeed. Like my coworkers. Yeah. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the elders this morning for doing the prayer for us today, Philip, and our leadership, and to my aunties that are here, my nephew. I want to say thank you for everything to help me be who I am today. Thank you.